Welcome to the Non-Essential Podcast. I'm Steve Gibson.
And I'm your friend. Open the door.
We're starting off on a positive foot. I'm trying to, they say, talk with a smile. I'm laughing because my brain, we do our count up. We've talked about that. I hit 3, and then I almost just stopped and stared at the screen because my brain's just like, shut off.
1,
Shutting
2,
down.
3. All right. See you next week.
Which is funny because I'm tired. I've been busy, but I'm not nearly as exhausted as I've been before doing this show. But the old brain was just like, going into sleep mode.
I'm actually I'm having a little more pep today than I usually do. And I think it's just because we're getting into nice weather, which
I thought pep was your code name for cocaine.
I do that in winter too.
I'm having a little bit more today though.
It's a funny story. I have a guy who usually brings it to me, and today I just robbed that son of a bitch. So
I assume nothing will come. There'll be no consequences to that action.
If you don't look in the basement, there will be no consequences for this. And all the nose candy I can eat.
I've been watching way too much Sopranos. Even joking about that's making me paranoid now.
You should be. You should be, because the people who aren't paranoid, they're the victims, man. That's what I learned from all those murder documentaries.
Right. Yeah.
If you just assume everybody's a fucking killer, you'll be fine. A lesson I forgot yesterday, in fact, when so I was on my walk. I've talked about it before. I go on these walks through the park on my lunch break. And this girl stopped me who she said she was 18, but she could have been 14 for all I knew. She was really small. And she, she's doing that thing where somebody asks you for change and they're kind of giving you their life story. And she, I'm already pulling out my wallet. Because I'm just I don't really care about the story. I'll just give you a few bucks and, see ya. And I was telling this story to other people, and I got pretty much the same response of don't ever pull your wallet out in these situations.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too.
And I was like, that's a good point. Luckily, I didn't get jacked, but I gave her $4.
I don't know. I kind of thought that's where the story was going.
Yeah, I get fucking kneecapped and.
No, I was talking the other form of the verb jacked.
Oh yeah,
I'll
regale you with my stories and prostitution. Paying her $4.
No, I was gonna say no offense, but it's anytime somebody starts with no offense, it's gonna be. I could totally see you being the guy that accidentally picks up a prostitute. You don't realize.
No, I thought she was trying to.
Yeah.
I thought, dude, this girl totally wants me.
No, not even that. I could just see you thinking that you're giving somebody that's just asking for money. And
I had that thought walking away from this, that it probably looked like I was trying to exchange some services,
goods and services.
And I swear to God, I wasn't. I was just I had $8 in my wallet or something. I usually keep singles on me, because I got to take the bus here and there. And, so I was, I don't keep a lot of cash on me usually, unless it's for a specific deal. But I give her $4, and she goes, "Can I just have the 20?" And I was like, "What 20?" There was no 20 in my wallet. And so I was confused. And it was also a very fucking rude thing. This has happened before when I've given money to strangers. They kind of eyeball how much you have, even if they're not planning on robbing you. They're very nosy about what you're giving them. And she was like, "Can I just have the 20?" And I was like, "I don't have a 20. And she's like, "I just saw it." And I'm like, "I'm not gonna pull out my wallet and argue with you about."
Yeah.
And just it was the most bizarre argument I've ever been trapped in, where I'm like, wait, 1, I don't have a 20. You made that up. 2, are we really going to haggle about charity? Like, you don't get to fucking do that. And I was just, like, and I just had a moment. This was like a weird, something died in me in this moment. And I was just very blunt, where I was just like, this is all I can spare. I'm going to walk away now. But in my head, I was like, man, fuck you. Give me my $4 back.
I know. That's what I would have been tempted to have been like, yoink. Now you don't get anything. Although you're better than me because they never get anything. But it's less about like, because I'm fine giving. Giving's great because you're helping somebody in need and it makes you feel good. It's like there's no downside to giving. But it means I have to interact with a stranger, which for me is 1,000% downside.
Yeah.
So my go-to is I don't have it. And to be fair, I almost never have cash. I don't carry cash because I just don't use it anymore.
Yeah,
and I don't get paid in cash. So
yeah,
like,
I mean, it's 20,
usually I'm not
30.
lying when I say, right. Yeah, when somebody's like, oh, spare change, I'm generally not lying when I say I don't have. Or if I do have cash, it's because I had like a birthday or something and it's all 20s and I'm not whipping my wallet out with a big wad of 20s.
Yeah.
Giving them the appearance that I'm a guy
with a roll.
Well, and like it gives the appearance that's like, wow, this guy carries that kind of money around with him. It's like, no, not generally. Yeah. Like I'm broke as shit, but I'm also too lazy to go to the bank and deposit this. So I owe bills that I can't pay because I only have cash. I'm a weird person. If you haven't figured that out.
I was really worried that like, because it was just so uncomfortable, I was worried that it was going to turn into a thing where like she had a boyfriend who jumped me for the rest of my money. And shit.
Or a pimp that's like, you got, or that shit where people pull where all of a sudden they start to claim, this guy just robbed me, this guy took my money, you know, something like that. And it's like, God damn.
And, you know, I wish we lived in a society where you could just say, like, you know, don't give them money because, you know, there's all these resources that can help them. And there are resources, but there's not nearly enough. No,
and there's loops tied to all of them. And then us as a society, and I don't mean us as me and you, because I try very hard not to be this way, but as a society, it's like, well, use the resources to you. And then when they use it, it's like, the society looks down upon them for using the resources.
Yeah, and
you're
then you're
freeloading,
like, why am I paying for
that?
these
like,
resources? Like, and, you know, so... I do, when I can, I don't mind giving people change and shit. It happens. The one thing that's just like, I just want it to stop. I don't even need like that.
Turning into something awkward and confrontational.
Yeah, like, I just don't, why does this have to turn into a fight? Like, you can't even be generous anymore without it turning into a fucking fight. And I was just like, like I said, it really fucking killed something for me in that moment where I was just like, I don't want to talk to anybody for like a year.
You know, it's funny. I hadn't have anything like that happen recently, but like, I don't know how, because I feel like I've got that kind of face that if you see me in public, you don't want to approach me for various reasons. Mm-hmm. But not like psychopathic, but just, you know, I'm not a chatty person with strangers, and I think it shows. But and this had to be before last week's episode, so I'm surprised I didn't think of it and bring it up then. But it's like a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. We were watching some show on, like, it's called The Foods That Build America. It's on Discovery or something. But it was on bourbons and, you know, post-prohibition and the American, like, kind of the start of bourbon in America, how it got its foothold, and it was mostly focused on Maker's Mark, which I've never been a big fan of, but I'm also very easily influenced. So like the day after everybody does. That's like their big selling point. But I've talked to a lot of people who are like, oh, Maker's Mark, that's one of my favorite. And the one time I bought it, I thought it tasted like nail polish remover, but I was watching the show and I was thinking, you know, I tried that way back when I first got into like bourbons, and I wasn't really drinking them straight, and it might have just been that like I wasn't a bourbon person yet, and I had to go to the store for something else anyway. And one of the things about Maker's Mark is they sold themselves, they got their brand by like looking fancier and charging more than the other bourbons on the market. To like, they kind of took that like the luxury item angle. They were one of the first, at least in that market, to do that. which is ironic because now it's one of the cheapest bourbons you can get. It's not fancy. So I was like, it's $23 for a bottle of this. I'll try it again, which I don't know why I gave you that much backstory. My point is I was in line at the liquor store and this guy like is behind me and the line like goes through the scotch aisle. And the guy just like comes up to get in line and he's just like, man, this is the best aisle in the place, right? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I like scotch. He's like, this one right here is really good. You ever had it? And it's like, no. He's like, I like this one too.
He just
though.
wants
like,
drinking,
stop,
buddy.
I'm like, I'm clearly like barely engaging you. Stop talking.
You want to go in the alley and split this?
I kind of felt like that's where he was going with it. Like he couldn't afford it, but he was trying to like get me to buy a bottle. So then he'd be like, hey, can I come over and have some? And be like, no, you cannot. But then the line, like, they moved up a little bit. Like, it was at a standstill. I don't know what was going on up at the cash register, but there was some, whatever that was delaying things. And so when it moved up, I could take a couple more steps and, like, gain some ground. And so, like, he kind of let the conversation drop. I'm like, thank God. Then I get to check out, and the guy behind the cashier is like, oh, Maker's Mark, this is one of my favorites. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I like, there's others that are good, but I like to go home. This is, I like to have this one. And it's like, yeah.
Cool.
I'm like, just here. Can I put my card in yet? Yeah. Like, you don't understand. I'm coming to the store after working all day. My mental battery is drained. Yeah. I cannot converse with you people.
Yeah. You can tell that, like, you've been in an office job for a while because it's just that is the, and I relate to it because at the end of the day, it's like, people will be like, man, you're not saying anything. It's like, because I have nothing to say. It's just, the energy's just shot.
And it's funny because there's two types of people in office. Some people feed off of that, and they're just like, even at the end of the day, you guys want to go out? You want to go do this? You want to do that? I got my friends, my people are coming over, and I'm like, I can't.
That's the energy vampire from What We Do in the Shadows. Is like, while the others suck blood, he just drains you in a cubicle of like all your excitement for life.
Which is way the fuck worse. I'd rather just hit my blood drains, to be honest.
It's a slow death, and only corporate America can deliver it. All right.
So, my experience wasn't nearly as bad as yours, but it just yours made me think of mine. It's like, what is making you people talk to me? Like, stop.
Yeah. I just wonder if there are people who can bounce off that shit. Because, like, for me, I'm going to remember that fucking argument with that girl for 5 years. But I know there are people out there who just be like, well, that was unpleasant.
Well, good news. If your life trajectory follows mine, as you continue to get older and stuck in these positions, it all blends together and it doesn't it doesn't stick with you because you start to learn to not focus on what happened, but what's going to happen next. Constant anxiety.
Yeah, that's because I go right to nuclear war, so that's good. Anyway, there's our typical 15-minute preamble.
We got to catch everybody up. Everybody wants to know how Steve and Ben are doing.
Yeah, it's the chit-chat show. But on this show, we usually do try to have topics. And I have a thing.
Holy
it's
shit,
here.
2 in a row?
Well, you see, before, only our most dedicated listeners, and I assume they're all dead now, but our dedicated listeners who've been with us since the beginning know that before I did creepypastas as my go-to cop-out, I instead reached into the deep well of Japanese myths. And I did that for a while, and now we're back. Turns out that well isn't dry.
Like those. I don't know that well ever goes dry. They've got a rich history of mythology.
Lot. And normally I do.
All fantastic too.
And normally I do these, and they're all like separate entries, and we just go through a list. It's just random shit. But this time I got 3 that are kind of connected. So join me, won't you? This is all.
Come with me.
My source for this is all. My source for this is, as always, yokai.com, which is a lovely, just fucking database, and they always have like really funny drawings of all these ancient Japanese demons. So go there and just get drunk and read this shit for like an hour, and you'll have a good time.
And then next time you do one of these episodes, they'll be like, hey, I didn't remember that one. I read about it. And we'll bond over the experience. It'll be great.
Yeah, well, camaraderie. That's what we're all about. So this starts with a demon named Shuten Douji, who is considered one of the most evil, powerful yokai in Japanese folklore.
And it also sounds like a Japanese like pop idol that does like American style rap.
Yeah.
Shuten Yogi or whatever.
Shaken Shuten Douji.
Douji.
So most stories call him, most stories tend to say his origin. He was a half-human boy with a human mother, but his father was the great dragon, Yamata no Arachi. And if that sounds familiar, you know more about this than I do.
I was going to say, met him once. He was a great guy.
Yeah. So the boy was supernaturally strong and intelligent. So naturally, everybody in society kind of hated him and called him a demon child. Because why would you ever want to be on the side of the really strong, smart person? You know, like,
right,
make sure to make an instant enemy about the guy who could fucking kill you when he grows up.
Well, I mean, I suppose if he was super strong and he was a dick about it, like he was like the bully or something, the Farkas from Christmas Story, I could see. But it doesn't sound like that's the case. It sounds like it's just like, you weird outsider that's better than us at every single thing.
Well, it's a chicken and the egg sort of thing, because, you know, the stories say that by the time he was just 6, he fucking hated people, and his mother hated him and abandoned him. So he became an apprentice at the temple on Mount Hiei in Kyoto. He was still super powered and shit, though, so him and the other acolytes didn't get along. And he blew off his monk tasks and got into fighting and drinking, despite these things being forbidden by the temple.
Hell yeah, still at age 6, by the way.
Pretty damn young. It doesn't say exactly when that became his pastime, but, you know, he could outdrink anybody by an early age, and his fondness for drinking earned him his name, Shuten Douji, which means the little drunkard. One night, Shuten showed up for a festival, just fucking smashed, and he went around with an oni mask scaring his fellow priests. But by the end of the night, he couldn't remove the mask, and it had fused to his face. If that sounds familiar, it's because that was a Goosebumps plot. And yes, I'm saying Japan ripped off the Goosebumps books.
That's what, yeah. R.L. Stine is pissed.
Yeah, R.L. Stine, who, as we all know, was born in fucking 800 BC.
Kyoto, by the way.
In Kyoto, yeah, he was there. He was watching all this shit. Freaked out and getting yelled at for his drunken assery, Shuten ran into the mountains to get away from the humans he had developed so much contempt for. And at this point, he resigned himself to living on the outskirts, stealing food and alcohol to get by. Eventually, he got so good at these like petty bandit crimes that he attracted a gang of thieves and criminals who really didn't.
So finally, some smart people that were like, "Yeah, let's hitch our wagon to this."
Yeah, it's like they didn't need much convincing to become loyal to a superpowered bandit demon. Over this time, Shuten grew in power and knowledge, and he started mastering dark magic, which he taught to his followers. Around this time, he met another demon child like himself named Ibara Kidouji, who became his chief servant. Ibaraki is kind of a weird figure in this story, as their origin is never totally defined. The name means thorn tree child, and it's not really even consistent from story to story if Ibaraki was male or female. Some stories say, it seems like the closest thing to a consensus is that Ibaraki was a female, and her and Shuten were lovers, and she wasn't just his like top general. But others say they were just good bros who probably loved to bang every once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, it can go either way.
Yeah, you know.
I mean, why do they have to do one or the other?
There.
They're just right.
Yeah, I'm just
non-binary demon child buddy. I mean, that's fun.
Yeah,
No judgment here, like you said.
Probably a poor way to introduce like the nature of trans people to your child is like a children's book about two demons in love.
Yeah, so making them the bad guy, that's very American, actually. But
yeah, you know, that's Bud Light's, you know. That's their apology tour they're going to go on.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Over such time and so many wicked deeds and practicing dark magic, Shuten and his gang gradually began to form into full-fledged demons who would prowl the highways, terrorizing people in drunken rages. The picture for Shuten, as depicted on yokai.com, is basically a big red fucker with an Oni mask. So kind of think like the Kool-Aid guy, but for demons.
Instead of, oh yeah, it's Oni.
And Ibaraki is basically the Green Goblin, from what I gathered. If you need that visual in your head.
Oh man, that can't be red and green. That's too Christmassy. I hate that color combination.
Yeah. This is and then they fuck and give birth to Santa.
Makes sense. It tracks. Story tracks.
But eventually, running around drunk, screaming at people gets old. All right, it doesn't. It's always fun.
No,
but it got old for Shuten. So he built a big castle like he was fucking Dracula, and he plotted to conquer the capital of Kyoto and rule as emperor. And by plot, I mean they just took their entire gang and started killing people throughout Kyoto, and capturing noble virgins to drink their blood and eat them. This will be a reoccurring thing that these demons do not actually plot at all.
I like these kind of stories because the moral seems to be, don't be a noble virgin, be a poor slut. Like, which is, I can handle this, the latter. That's a way more achievable goal.
It's, you know, what if that was the moral of some of these stories? Like, we gotta fuck fast. They're coming.
Yeah.
Finally.
I could have seen you trying to use that in high school.
Yeah, you know, whatever.
We have to. Whatever we have to do this, or else.
Yeah. So finally, a band of heroes led by the legendary warrior Minamoto no Yorimitsu attacked Shuten's palace and used a magical poison that they put in the demon's booze supply to make them go from 0 to blackout in no time. While Shuten was drunk as fuck, Yorimitsu cut off his head, and yet the head continued to try to bite at him, which is a really funny image.
Yeah, because like it would be scary for about 2 seconds, and then you're like, "Wait, you can't move."
That was just
like,
a
you're
dumb
just sitting there going,
Yeah. Shuten's head was buried outside the city limits as it was considered unholy. The cup and bottle of poison that Yorimitsu used are said to be kept at the Narayaji Temple in Kyoto. I am sure I butchered that. But I'm going to just press forward as if I'm a natural Japanese speaker.
Yeah.
Yorimitsu returned to Kyoto triumphant with a noble, or when a noble informed them that another demon was haunting the Rashomon Gate. So just imagine you just took out like the greatest fucking demon threat in the world, and you come back immediately, people are like, well, we got you. You know, like, we got some more shit you could do.
Well, I mean, now it sounds like The Witcher. That's basically...
Totally.
Geralt's, yeah.
Yeah. Rashomon
like, oh,
Gate.
good, you're still alive. Go this way now.
It's like, yeah. I mean, there's no shortage of monsters. If there's a whole database for it, these guys had to keep busy. Rashomon Gate was the southern gate of Kyoto's city walls, and by this time it had become overgrown and unkempt. It was basically a trashy part of the land where it was just a hangout for bandits and thieves. And it was like a dumping ground for women who didn't want their babies and murderers who were dumping bodies. It was it was evil.
So what's the point of it even being a gate? Because at that point, I'm sure nobody was guarding the gates. Like,
I mean,
it's just like we assume this unsavory element will keep people, keep invading armies away.
Some gates were just for like wartime,
Yeah.
It wasn't. You're not going to put a post there for everything. There's dead babies afoot. One of Yorimitsu's deputies, Watanabe no Suna, went to investigate this new demon on his own. When he arrived at the gate, a great wind broke out, and it pushed so hard his horse couldn't press forward, or just didn't want to, because he got off his horse and walked fine, apparently.
It's one of those horse winds, they call them. It only affects horses.
It's just that thing. There's always a point in all these stories where a horse is just a stubborn ass. As he neared the gate, a large hand reached out of the darkness and grabbed his helmet. Suna swung his katana in an instant and lopped off the hand of what turned out to be Ibara Kidouji, who had come to attempt to avenge Shuten.
But was not very good at it, apparently.
Again,
she immediately got her hand cut off.
Again, the fucking planning of these demons. This plan was step 1, wait to grab. Step 2, ow. Like,
right. It's like, I got the element of surprise. Now what do I do? Oh, my hand's gone.
Oh, shit.
Damn it. Maybe I should have grabbed his arm instead of his head.
Maybe I should have tried to surprise him and not attack him head on with my hand. Ibaraki ran away, leaving her arm behind, but sometime later she would return and reclaim it. But fled again. Her whole plan for revenge was over at that point.
It became the plan for the hand, and then it was like, I got it, I'm out.
Which is, to be fair, that's probably how far my plans for revenge would go. The moment I lost a limb,
I wouldn't even go back
out.
for my hand. I'd just be like, yeah, it's gone. My bad.
I feel like in ancient Japan, if you lose a hand, you got to make that your thing, You're the one-armed fucking samurai. You're the one-armed demon. So she fled, but it said that, villagers would occasionally see her over the following years, always up to some more wicked bullshit. But that's kind of where her story stops.
They're like, yeah, she's not in the city. Let's let her be.
Pretty much. I mean, it's that thing of technically, if you think about it, Shuten's still underground, gnawing at nothing. So.
Ah, fuck, they buried me in a field of onions. My breath's going to be awful by the time I get out of here.
You can't kill demons. You can only just, beat them really easily because they're stupid. And speaking of stupid, upon their victory, Yorimitsu and his party had freed all the women captured by Shuten and his gang, but one of the women had been impregnated by Shuten, and she would end up giving birth
Shuten too.
Yeah, Shuten too.
Shooting again.
And, rootin' shootin'. She ended up giving birth to a boy named Kidomaru. Born with a full set of teeth and his father's strength, he could slay a deer or a boar by throwing a single rock at it by the time he was 7.
Can you imagine how terrifying breastfeeding that kid would have been?
Yeah, it was fucking awful. And like his father, he became an apprentice at Mount Hiei's temple. And like his father, he was expelled because he was a little fucking asshole demon boy. And like his father, he fled to the mountains and started robbing people. And like his father, he got stronger and learned dark magics and began plotting revenge on his father's killers. Again, there's no actual plot here. He just said, I'll kill him. So, Yorimitsu, after some time, was visiting his brother, Yorinobu. Upon his arrival, he learned that Yorinobu had already caught the demon Kidomaru using his toilet and had locked the demon in his bathroom. This is just like a total, like, I'll have my revenge, and then it's like, you might be wondering how I ended up here. Yorimitsu scolded his brother for being so careless to just lock him in the bathroom, and showed him that you need to tie a demon up properly to ensure he doesn't escape.
How could you not know this, brother? Yeah. You got to use the demon knot to knot a demon up.
Which is hilarious because Kidomaru just breaks the binds like right away. So they chained him up, and Yorimitsu decided to spend the night to make sure no shit went down. But like I said, while getting caught on the crapper is a poor start to anyone's revenge tour, Kidomaru was stronger than Yorimitsu had given him credit for. He broke the bonds, and then he snuck up on Yorimitsu's room to spy on him. Why he didn't just kind of attack when he had the element of surprise.
He was kind of into him. It's that Stockholm Syndrome thing.
It's that thing. Like, no, I have a plan. Yorimitsu noticed the demon because Kidomaru was a big, dumb red fucker, like his dad. And he came up with a plan to trap Kidomaru again, and he would loudly tell his attendants in his room that they were going to ride to Mount Kurama to make a pilgrimage. Seeing this as an opportunity to ambush the samurai who killed his father, Kidomaru ran ahead to Kurama. He slaughtered a cow there and climbed inside its body to hide, which is not a great hiding spot. Because, again...
the most conspicuous thing in the scene. Let's hide in it.
It's very much like Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where, like, Dennis and Charlie are trying to hide in one episode, and the best Charlie can think of is laying right on his bed with a blanket on him, and it's like, it's just clearly someone's under the blanket.
Right.
So yeah, he climbed inside a cow. Oh, maybe he wasn't trying to hide. Maybe he just wanted to wear a cow suit. I don't know. Upon his arrival, Yorimitsu immediately saw through the disguise, and his best...
a dead cow.
Yeah. And his best archer and our old buddy, Suna, shot an arrow through the demon cow, injuring Kidomaru, who emerged from the corpse and charged at Yorimitsu with all his might. But Yorimitsu was too fast and obviously too ready for a basic attack like this, and cut the demon spawn down with a single stroke.
I love that both of these stories are like these super powerful demons born with abilities that no mortal man has, that went into the mountains and honed their craft in dark magic, come down and get their ass kicked immediately by a regular guy.
Yeah.
It's like, well...
To be fair, Shuten got drunk and, like, poisoned.
Well, yeah. That's true.
But, yeah, Kidomaru was just an idiot.
Well, he was clearly suffering from intestinal distress. That's how he got stuck in the bathroom in the first. He had food poisoning.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I have some issues like that too, pal.
Mm-hmm. And it would be very hard to fight well.
It's hard to get your revenge with IBS.
Right.
So, yeah, that's kind of the Shuten Douji story.
Shuten Douji. It sounds like something that you're doing. It's like, where were you so late? And sorry, Tara, I was out shooting Douji.
It sounds like...
You better not have lost all your money again.
It sounds like shitting.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I'm shooting Douji.
That's what I'm going to call it from now on. Got to go shooting Douji. But it's interesting because they come up with I say they come up with, like, they're just like pulling them out of their ass. A lot of these Japanese, like, myths, and a lot of ours probably sound this way too, but we don't cover ours as much because American myths are either stolen from the Native Americans and bastardized to make them like palatable for Europeans, or they're just like dumb.
Yeah.
But it's funny, like I said, these myths, they like go into all of this backstory and detail on things like, killing a cow and hiding in the cow, but it didn't work. It's like, okay, well, that's weird that that's part of the myth then. It could have just been they rode up and saw him and they shot him with an arrow.
Yeah.
Or like you said, like, oh, the demons broke free and snuck up to his room, but he saw him, so then he had to come up with a plan to make him think they were going somewhere. It's like they could have just fought right there. Like,
yeah, but I think
weird.
I mean, these are really early stories in human history, and I think the idea is always like, using your head, because that's what separates you from these dumbass drunk demons. Even though it said Shuten Douji was really smart, he must have just been really fucking like ripped. Like day drinking. I mean, they got that rice wine shit. That'll fuck you up quick.
It sneaks up on you. I'd like. Well, I've only ever had the cheap, probably extremely inauthentic, but I don't know because I never had the authentic sake that you can get at like Kroger for $13.
Nothing wrong with
stuff. It's pretty low alcohol though. I think the actual stuff is not low alcohol. Although I'm sure it runs the gamut like all places. I don't know where I was going with that, but I was trying to think when they said that they're like, oh, they assaulted him, or they came up with a plan to attack him, and they snuck in and poisoned his booze. It's like, well, that's not really a plan to attack him. That's sabotage, but which is fine.
Mean, that's part of a Ghost of what was it?
Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, Tsushima. Like that was part of that game. Was you drug their fucking alcohol and shit, and then your uncle's
I forgot about that mission.
And your uncle's like, "How could you do that?" And it's like because
it's not honorable.
Because it fucking worked. You fucking pansy.
Right.
God damn.
Yeah, I liked that game a lot, but I got a little annoyed at that whole like narrative they tried to weave into. I get what they're going for. It was the departure from the traditional way of the samurai, and
if you hadn't noticed, you just got your ass whooped in the fucking tutorial.
Right.
It's time to use poisons and be a ninja.
But
I like that game though.
I'm trying to think what cocktail I would use to poison a demon.
A Molotov.
He's like, that drink was good, but why is this long rag sticking out of my throat now? Like,
I'll show you.
Yeah. Can I give you a light?
And then I would be covered in gasoline. Cocktail. I would be covered in gasoline, just like burn myself.
Yeah. That's a new TikTok challenge, by the way.
Don't actually do that.
No, covering yourself with gasoline and lighting yourself on fire is not a fun experience. Trust me, I've been there.
We can be sarcastic about a lot of things. I will never joke about any of those TikTok challenges anymore because I'm sorry, kids, you're fucking stupid.
I know. We just had one in.
So many of them are so fucking. They are such bad ideas.
And I'm too old, so I don't find out about them until a kid dies. But there was a kid here in Central Ohio that just is 13 years old that died, and it was like, oh, the Benadryl challenge. You just take a shitload of Benadryl. I was like, don't do that.
If fucking Steve-O will tell you don't do that, don't do that.
Right.
It's fucking I don't know. Again, we're old men shaking our fucking canes and shit. I mean, I feel like we did stuff growing up that. I probably should have died, but
a lot of things that we did that could have resulted in death. But
I had a line.
And when you survive it, you don't say. Yeah, and that's the thing is after the fact when you look back on it and go, "Whoa, that was really dumb and dangerous." I don't tend to say, "Hey, everybody else go do that." It's like, yeah, probably don't do that.
I did. I did a lot of dumb shit, but I never thought I was fireproof in any of it.
Yeah. I don't know. Fire games can escalate quickly. I can see how some of that stuff would happen. I remember it was a internet era, but years and years ago, it was a thing. The kids would soak hockey pads in ethanol or something, one of the quick burning flammables, and then light a tennis ball on fire, soak that in gas or kerosene or something, and play street hockey with the flaming tennis ball, and if it hit your pads, your pads would go up. And it's like, yeah, if it goes as planned, that works great. And a bunch of kids like died or nearly died because instead they caught fucking fire, and then these foam pads melted like fucking napalm. It's like, but we played stupid games with fire as kids, and some of them could have gone very wrong too. But like I said, that when I survived stuff like that, I wouldn't tell my kid like, yeah, it was pretty cool, you should try it and hope you live. It's like, yeah, don't do that. It's not smart. Right. But I don't know. Whatever.
I don't know.
My kind of TikTok challenge is, now I'm 40. My TikTok challenge is tie both shoes without throwing your back out.
It's stand up without, falling.
Making a sound. Yeah. Without that old person like, ugh.
Yeah.
Every time I get out of the
chair. Can you try not grunting after 3 steps? The TikTok challenge.
I failed that. We were talking, I think, before the show, maybe during. I think, had to mow tonight after work and before dinner and before the podcast. It's fun squeezing that in there, and so you do it really fast. And I'm getting older, but I'm still young enough that mowing a half of a quarter of an acre lawn. I don't have a big house with a big yard. It's not that big a deal. So I got done, and I'm fine. We ate dinner, and then after putting my daughter to bed and getting off my feet for a while, that's when it hits me, because that's when your muscles tense up.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, Lincoln, got to go downstairs. And I get out of her bed, and I could barely walk. There was shooting pain from my foot up to my knee. It's like fucking being old. It sucks.
Yeah.
It's like,
I don't know.
I mowed it. Was maybe.
I thought my brain would be in a computer at this point.
Right, I could have treated my body better, but I didn't think it would matter. But science sucks. We're too focused on stupid shit.
I thought I would be like the fucking MCP or whatever in Tron. You just this giant fucking.
I was thinking Richard Nixon in Futurama, but
a head in a jar.
Fishbowl Steve, yeah.
Yeah. Fuck. I would feed you fish food.
And I'd eat it like that too. More.
All right. Well, that's our show. I have no more show to give.
Shuten Douji. Come back next week for Shuten Douji 3. Revenge of the Shuten.
Shuten Douji Mark II.
That was Shuten Douji, the son, Junior. That was his biggest mistake, is he didn't knock anybody up before he tried to enact his revenge plan. You gotta have a backup for
that we know of.
Well, that's true.
We don't know how he ended up in the toilet.
I mean, Tom Brady played football way longer than any normal person should. Maybe his real birth name was Tom Shuten.
Gross.
It'd explain a lot.
I forgot.
I mean, it's fake.
You just upset me. I forgot he had kids. That means we're gonna have to hear about his fucking kids for the next fucking 40 years.
Hopefully they play tennis. Nobody talks about tennis.
Yeah, go fucking do something that I won't watch, please. Swear to God, if we get a fucking Tom Brady Jr. quarterback, I'm gonna fucking end it all.
Well, yeah, it was all the talk around here was LeBron James kids going to college. I think next year in a couple of years. I think he's committing, and everybody, of course, everybody in Columbus is like, "Oh, he might go to Ohio State." I'm like, he's not going to Ohio State.
Yeah, and they'll leave just like Pops.
Everett. Well, Pops didn't go to. Pops is smart. He skipped college altogether and then just said he was a Buckeye. Yeah, I was like, oh, that works, but. And don't get me wrong, I'm not one of these people. A lot of people in Lancaster that hate LeBron James, and they make up reasons, but it really has more to do with ethnicity. We'll put it that way. But
Ohio, well, I mean, there's definitely
but there's also if you're an outspoken athlete that a lot of the LeBron James hate around here comes from just they're literally racist. It's just. How dare he be a black man in athlete in sports that speaks out about anything? It's because there's a lot of injustice.
That's not really an Ohio thing, though. That's That's just a conservative thing.
Yep.
But, like, you know, if you are in Ohio and you're just a sports fan, I get it from the perspective of you, like, Cleveland sucks and he didn't want to play there anymore. And that hurts.
Well, a lot of Cleveland fans, though, when he came back and won us the championship, the only thing that the city's gotten, and it's 260-year history. Yeah, I don't know how long Cleveland's been around. But, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of Cleveland fans
got over
don't hate him. Yeah.
I mean, that's fair, and that's how I would look at it. Win me a championship, and you can do whatever the fuck you want. It's
how I look at it, but in fairness, my NBA opinions don't mean shit because I don't care about the NBA at all. So
yeah.
It's easy for me to not be mad at him because I wasn't mad at him the first. The only thing I was mad at the first time he left was that it was all they fucking talked about on TV and radio here for like 6 months.
Yeah.
And it was less about like I don't want him to leave. It's like I want them to shut up. I don't fucking care. Anyway, that has nothing to do with...
We need to end this show before we do another 10 minutes about sports.
Yeah, that's not Japanese. Well, debatedly, they could be Japanese demons. We don't know, but regardless, they're not the Japanese demons that we're talking about.
On yokai.com, there's a LeBron James page. How weird.
I'm going to see if it's open source to add mythology and see if I can. No, because that feels like a racist thing, and it's not. It's a stupid joke thing.
Yeah. No, I swear, I'm just dumb. I swear.
I'm not concerned. Like you said, he's such a target for conservatives.
Yeah.
But
all right.
Anyway,
thanks for listening, and until next time.
At the very least, thanks for having us on in the background while you do something more important. Toodaloo.